From days of long ago, from uncharted regions of the universe, comes a legend. The legend of, vaguely scientific, Defender of the Universe. A mighty robot loved by good, feared by evil. Wonder Twin powers activate. Form of Derek, but made of water. Yeah. And the Sword of Omens must have given him sight beyond sight because he's Jim, the scientist. Hi, Jim.
I've seen too much.
And here he comes. Here comes Ryan. He's a demon on wheels. Welcome back, Ryan.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
These were all licensed from 80s cartoons.
Yeah. Licensed.
I want to be Ryan-O.
Ryan-O,
Oh, nice.
I'm Ryan-O. I forget who did that song, but that was a good song.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I should have swapped yours and Jim's because that worked.
Yeah,
it's
it's
Ryan-O.
impossible now.
Yeah,
I'm kicking
hindsight's
myself
2020. Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, unfortunately, this is the show. Wait. This is a show where listeners send in questions to hear our vaguely scientific answers, and who knows, we might even get some of those answers right. But before we tackle those questions, I think, Jim, you should give us a fun science fact of the day.
All right. 1816 was known as the year without a summer due to the abnormally low temperatures across the globe. This was likely caused by the Mount Tambora volcanic eruption in Indonesia.
Does that correlate to the year without a Santa Claus?
It's the year with a few more Santa Clauses, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I think the year without a Santa Claus may have been in the third. Wait, no. Somebody did the math on this. I'm going to put it in the show notes. I don't remember. I'm not going to say any numbers.
It's not just when that movie came out?
No, it's not. Because the book actually predates the movie by a few decades, I think.
I didn't realize there was a book.
So I can tell you, though, this is also the year where the really crummy summer weather forced Mary Shelley and friends into Lord Byron's estate, and she wrote Frankenstein.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is kind of neat.
So that's the year Santa gave us Frankenstein.
Yeah.
It's actually Santa's monster.
Santa's oh, right. Well, I think Santa was the real monster, right?
That is the moral of that story.
The moral of the story
is
that Santa is a monster for giving free toys to kids.
Oh, this is... All right. Well, before we descend too far into inanity, maybe we should at least announce what the first question is.
Sure.
Then we can feel free to carry on. But I think... Question 1 this week is, which fictional city on contemporary Earth would be the worst place to live?
I was going to just open up the floor with maybe the obvious one, Gotham City.
Oh.
I think that's the top of a lot of our lists.
Yeah, it was up
It's a city,
there.
Yeah, it's a city where I think there are more masked criminals than average citizens.
Mm-hmm.
You're either a masked criminal or you're a masked criminal henchman with matching costumes.
Or a victim.
Or a victim. That's true.
Yeah.
There's nobody who gets by, as far as I can tell.
There are no citizens, only victims.
Yeah.
The only people who are living remotely comfortably are doing so because they are corrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I put Gotham City down... And I have a list of a few others, but I did want to at least make the point that I started by listing a bunch of major cities that like various superheroes are from, and then I quickly realized that there's just kind of two categories. There's Gotham City or there's all the rest.
Right.
And the distinction being that Gotham City can be kind of street level, more grounded in reality with a lot of criminal activity, whereas something like Metropolis seems like a nice enough city, but it's constantly attacked by aliens and people with superpowers.
Right.
But that also kind of fits like the rest of the fictional superhero cities.
But also, like, what happened? So, like, they're both supposed to be cities in the United States. They're just
Sure.
fake American cities. So, like, do people in like Milwaukee wake up and read the newspaper and it's like the Riddler strikes Gotham again?
Mhm.
Do they just go like, I'm glad I don't live? Like, who moves to Milwaukee? Or
Well,
not
at
who
some
moves to
point-
Milwaukee? Who moves to Gotham from Milwaukee?
I don't know.
Sorry, Wisconsinites.
6 in one hand, half in
I
the
hear
Benson in the
Milwaukee's
other,
a
right?
beautiful town.
It's nice. I've been there. It's charming. It's no Gotham.
I think sometime back in the 90s, they went through and made like a pseudo official location, at least by state, for where all of like Central City and Star City and Metropolis and Gotham are. And I think the idea was that most of the country was represented in the DC universe. And I remember, because this comes up a lot, the most official, I'll say the most official, because obviously they're fictional places and they've moved around. Like Metropolis was in California for the Christopher Reeves movie.
Oh, yeah.
But the most official location for Metropolis is in Maryland, and Gotham City is in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like literally supposed to be right across the bay from each other.
Well, that makes sense because there's a lot of crossover.
Right. It's still basically just New York, like the megalopolis
It's just New York,
of
yeah.
Yeah.
Baltimore, DC, New York, Philly,
Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they're trying to say New York City, but without so many words, I guess.
Yeah. Well, New York City is just too important of a city for them to not have it exist, I guess. I don't know.
But like, yeah, I mean, if I was living in like Seattle, I'd be like, oh man, another horrible attack. Like everybody in Gotham is encased in a block of ice. Boy, they sure have it. They sure have a heck of a time out there.
What's interesting about this, and I don't mean this to be insensitive, but like I remember hearing, we live closer to the East Coast, and I remember hearing a bunch of the news about the wildfires in California.
Oh, yeah.
And like they don't noticeably affect me on a daily basis. So like I could see people not really caring about the things happening in Metropolis if they're like living too far away.
Yeah, because we're so far removed from it that it sort of desensitizes us to the natural disaster. Because you don't think much about who it's affecting. You just think about the fact that it is happening.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I do think that, because, you know, like whenever every year you're like, oh, it's hurricane season, here comes big ones for the folks down in like Florida and such. But I also think like that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game where Manhattan gets like levitated into the sky.
Yeah.
I think that feels different. I think I would click on that link before, like, you know, every year I hear about hurricane season or Tornado Alley and things like that. And of course, like, it's exactly like you said, where, yeah, it's, you know, far away. So maybe I'm kind of desensitized to it, hearing about it year after year. But like, there's some goofy stuff that happens in old Gotham and other comic book style or Metropolis or whatever. I think it might catch your eye.
Yeah, I think I was not surprised when you said Gotham. That was number one, at least the first one I thought of.
Yeah,
on
that
my
seems
list
to be like.
too. And
I mean, I think it was written as like so corrupt and like hell on earth that's, you know, where you got Batman from.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So like they had to make it extra nasty.
That's fair. And then, a big question comes up: why don't people move? And I honestly think the good answer to that is they're all really impoverished and they can't afford to.
Or the bridges are blown up or some nonsense of the week.
That's the movie explanation. Yeah.
That's actually reminds me of another superhero town that we haven't talked about yet, and that is the city of Townsville.
The city of Townsville.
Yeah.
That's on my list, Jim. It's on my list.
On the whole, it doesn't seem like it's as dangerous as Gotham or Metropolis, but like when I think of bridges being blown up, that's the one I think of.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's a lot of infrastructure damage.
Even their superheroes cause so much collateral damage.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to list just a couple without talking too much about them individually, because I realized that I just kept coming up with broad categories that a lot of things fit into, and I have the same thing to say about all of them. So I have Silent Hill from the Silent Hill series, and Springwood, Ohio, which is the setting of Nightmare on Elm Street. And the big one, I was going to narrow it down to Derry, Maine, but I've decided to broaden it from city to state, just the entire state
all of Maine. Thanks to Stephen
all
King.
of Maine. Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Every
I can't tell if Stephen King loves Maine or if he really wants to stick it to them.
Just flatten Maine, yeah.
I did not actually research this. I've just made the sweeping assumption that Stephen King grew up in Maine because it seems like you write what you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's from Maine.
Yeah, so that makes sense to me.
Also, what's the name of that? Since you're into like eldritch horror things or zombie apocalypse or whatever. What apocalypse? What's the what's that town from Stranger Things? If anybody watches Stranger Things.
I have that written.
I had it on my list, but I don't remember which
Hawkins.
one of these it is.
Hawkins, Indiana.
Because the first one. I mean, I'm gonna try not to spoil anything Stranger Thingsy, but like
they've had time.
They have had time, but like in the first, well, they've had one season less time with each one I mention.
Fair.
But like in the first one, it seemed kind of a little more contained, where it's like, oh, this is like a classic horror movie where it's happening to these kids and this family, and everything's kind of grounded. Like you could be the neighbor down the street and not know any of it's going on theoretically for at least most of it. And then by the time they've advanced a few seasons, it's like the entire, I think they even comment on it during they're like, why is Hawkins so cursed? It's kind of what I was saying about Gotham, is like you get in the show like these news reports where it's like, what is going on in Hawkins now?
Oh,
like the devil has risen out of the hole in the ground and stomping all over. Not again.
That gets to an interesting point that is a little off topic, but I feel like I can tie it back here because this came up from, I believe it was George R.R. Martin made the comment because he killed off all of his main characters. When he was asked about how he like kills off all of his characters, I remember he made some comment about how he thought it was like too convenient if his main character ended up being like the chosen one or something. And the direct example he gave was The Matrix, so I'll stick with that. And he said it's just too convenient that the person we follow, Neo, through the whole movie just turns out to be the one. And I'm like, I think you're reading that wrong. I think you're ignoring the fact that we are seeing the story of the one.
Right.
So it's not really convenient. But now to tie it back to Ryan's comment, that falls apart when you do further installments of the story, because like Hawkins, Indiana, for example, something horrible happened there. But the more horrible things that happen there, the more it starts being like, all right, really? Like, again?
now it's more than just these kids' problem. Now,
right.
Yeah.
Actually, that brings me to one of the ones I really wanted to talk about. And maybe this is on one or both of your lists, but the town of Cabot Cove.
That is not on my list.
Cabot Cove is the setting for Murder, She Wrote.
Oh.
And actually, it's also in Maine, which is really funny.
Ah, well, I did cover it then.
We've already excommunicated Maine. But according to an article in the New York Times, over the course of the entire run of the show, almost 2% of the Cabot Cove's residents died during the run of the show.
Oh my goodness.
It's a town of 3,500 people, and there were enough episodes that it killed off 2% of the residents.
She wrote a lot of murder.
She should stop writing murder.
Stop writing.
Stop it.
That's far too many murders.
That's way too many murders. Like, find another hobby, Cabot Cove.
Yeah.
Since we're moving from, like, superhero devastation to maybe a little more, well, I'm going to unground it, but I was going to say, like, I guess more grounded in everyday life. Kind of a wild card one that I was thinking is Springfield from The Simpsons.
I thought about that.
Springfield state to be determined. But because like obviously there's just like wacky stuff that happens to the Simpsons and things like that, but also you're at the whim of like Mr. Burns deciding that he's going to block out the sun on, a random day, or getting scammed by a monorail as a town, or in the movie the entire town's put into a glass dome.
Right.
And so like it, and of course since it's been around for like 30 odd years, practically they've pretty much animated like every person in the town at this point.
That's true.
So like there are a lot of people that get kind of caught in, poor Mole Man always gets run over by things and whatnot. It is like one day you might wake up and your Homer's asleep, so there could be a nuclear meltdown in your backyard, or again, like Mr. Burns decides that he's gonna sell you to another town and they'd like dig you up and move you or something.
Considering that Springfield as a town at large is generally a satire for ignorance and prejudice and stupidity, like, that's a bad place to live. That's just like living in the worst place that actually exists is what they're trying to get at.
It's like it's like taking a perfect mix of all of the worst characteristics of every town and just combining them.
Yeah. Kind of on a similar note to Springfield, I wrote down Toontown from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Interesting.
And I guess in that world, they do kind of live, like they coexist with the Toons, so maybe it wouldn't be that terrible, but like I saw that movie. I don't want to go there.
Yeah,
I guess that's true.
Do they live in, in the same kind of harmony as like Pokemon, where it's like, oh yeah, we inhabit a world that's just full of Pokemon everywhere. And they just like, oh, my coworker's a Toon.
They kind of do, but there is a specific area that is like Toontown, and it's not the mundane world anymore. So you go in and there's just chaos happening all the time. So I feel like maybe living in like New York in the Roger Rabbit universe wouldn't be so bad, but specifically going into the cartoon area, I don't know.
That sounds just vaguely prejudiced against cartoons.
Well, I mean, the movie did it. I didn't do it.
That's well, yeah. See, it's a real head scratcher, that movie.
It's a real
really makes you think about yourself.
I don't know. It's a pretty heavy movie. I think that's fair. Okay, I have one that I don't think we need to stay on too long because it's almost cheating because we're supposed to be going with contemporary, but I just wanted to point out that the city of Zion in the Matrix universe.
Oh, yeah.
That technically counts as contemporary because if we are in the Matrix right now, then that is a currently existing thing.
Oh, well, yeah, if we are in the Matrix right now, still makes sense to me because they said the peak of human civilization was 1999. I'm not sure I disagree.
I remember 1999. It was all right.
Maybe they were
not a bad year.
maybe they wrote that in for us to remind us. We either all took the blue pill or we're just living in the Matrix unawares.
Yeah. I'd take the blue pill. I'm not.
Oh, me too. I'd take the. Yeah.
I can't fight anyone.
I would ask. I'd be like, "Am I the one by any chance? If not,
yeah. I don't think I'd do the cipher thing, which is like betray all of my allies. But like, I don't know. Knowing how that movie goes, I'd be like, I'll just wait for it. You guys can handle it.
yeah. I don't think I have anything that they need.
Yeah, what are they going to do with me? Although, it would be cool to have, instructional videos uploaded into my brain so that I can drive, like, fancy vehicles.
Yeah, but then you gotta get attacked.
Jim. Yeah.
If you get any of that, even if you just, like, learn French, like, they'll come and attack you.
Yeah.
That's true, because you know too much.
Mr. Anderson, I hear you've been studying Spanish.
No hablo español. You can't fool us.
I'd see if the humans have a better deal for me to, if they want to use me as a battery and they can offer more, they can do that too. I'm willing to be somebody's battery.
To the highest bidder.
A battery for the highest bidder.
I got a couple here that are both from soap operas. And
Okay.
it's one of those things where soap operas are so mundane that if you lived in the same town as someone who was in a soap opera, it would not affect you in the slightest, except for these two, as far as I can see. So there was a soap opera called Sunset Beach, which was in a town called Sunset Beach. Now, according to this Wikipedia article that I'm looking at, apparently there is a real community called Sunset Beach, but as far as I can tell, it's not meant to be that actual Sunset Beach. I don't know. Even if it's based on a real town, I'm still going to say it's fictionalized because there's a lot of sorcery and black magic in Sunset Beach and vampires and things like that. So I wouldn't necessarily want to live there. And the other one, and this may come as a surprise to both of you or neither of you, I don't know, is Port Charles from General Hospital. I don't think I'd want to live there.
That doesn't come as a surprise to me at all.
Because by my count, there was at least one attempt to freeze the entire town solid. There were at least 2 incidences where a deadly biotoxin was released into the town's water supply. And there's just a lot of organized crime, like tons of it.
It sounds like they get good healthcare, though.
Yeah, they do have a
that's
really
fair.
solid hospital.
Yeah, I think everybody shows up in the hospital all the time. You never see any insurance issues.
Yeah.
You never see people worrying about their deductibles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because they all have amnesia, so they can't.
That's true. The whole town gets amnesia from a deadly biotoxin. But it's covered.
Alright, so
One of the best features of living in a soap opera world, though, is that it's really hard to die. And even if they find your body, there are avenues where you can come back to life.
you'll come back as a new actor.
Yeah.
Somehow Jim returned.
Yeah.
Jim, you're doomed to live in Port Charles forever.
Oh, no.
Well, they do have good coffee. I know that much.
I want to tie this back. I decided to look up my favorite soap opera setting, and that is the town from Dark Shadows,
Oh, yes.
Collinsport.
Mm.
And I laughed when I read that Collinsport is also in Maine.
Stay away from Maine.
Stay away from Maine.
Maine is
The lobsters
blacklisted.
are not worth it.
No.
The lobsters are now.
Well, yeah,
Now I don't
debatable
know.
actually.
It's debatable.
I like the fall foliage.
Would you fight a killer clown for some lobsters? Maybe.
Is that also in Maine?
I don't know. I just assume that everything is Maine.
I didn't know that it was in Maine.
It was Derry, Maine. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Boy, are there any soap operas that take place in Maine? Let's see.
Well, Dark Shadows.
Well, besides that one, like daytime soap operas. Oh, Passions was in Harmony, Maine. Wait, I was thinking of Passions. That was not Sunset Beach, Passions, and that takes place in Maine. Harmony, Maine.
No matter what universe, Maine will always be a place to avoid.
Maine, are you okay up there?
Makes
you all right,
sense to me. I blame Stephen King.
Oh, goodness gracious. I cannot believe how many of these are in Maine.
Avoid
You
Maine.
know, Andy Dufresne crawled 500 yards through a sewer to get out of Maine.
Yeah.
That's true. That's why he did that, not for any of the other reasons.
There was no other reason. He was just sick of being in Maine.
They tried to keep me in Maine. If it had been any other prison in any other state, I would have been fine.
Now, to redeem my earlier misspeaking and throwing Sunset Beach under the bus, which I don't know anything about Sunset Beach, turns out, is we're going to go back to California for Sunnydale, California, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I have that on there.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live there. I've never even watched the show, and I know better.
See, here's the thing about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, though. I don't think... I think you would be in danger, but I don't think you'd be unhappy about it because you would never remember that you were in danger.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It's the Sunnydale effect.
Yeah.
I guess that's good.
What would it be our rule about fictional New York City? Because I was thinking about the Men in Black.
I mean, Avengers, look how many times
Yeah.
the Avengers have blown up all of New York by themselves.
Yeah, I think the phrasing of the question means we can't take
Yeah.
fictionalized real cities.
I
Man.
personally took New York off my list because it's most of the Marvel universe. It's
Right.
the Ninja Turtles. But, like, New York is a real place.
The Ninja Turtles lifted it off the ground. The Muppets took Manhattan.
The Muppets did take Manhattan.
Just
we
took
can't
it.
use it anymore.
We can't.
They took it.
Yeah, it's gone.
Oh, Muppet Studios, also probably not a great place to live.
Yeah.
Good place to visit. Is that a city? That's not a city.
It's not a city, but what about the Animaniacs? It's based on like the Warner Brothers actual.
Oh,
Studio.
yeah, the Warner Brothers lot.
Mhm.
It takes place on the actual Warner Brothers lot, so just avoid that lot, I guess.
Yeah,
that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? There were a handful of supernatural things in Sunset Beach. Apparently some cursed jewels that if you touch them, you would shrivel up into a mummy.
Ew.
But I was
Just
thinking
don't
of
touch those
passions.
jewels.
Yeah. I looked it up later. I got it wrong, and I looked it up later.
Ah, well, we don't have to do that segment next time then.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that the bottom line is, A, don't go to Maine. And B, you really just want to live in a town that will not feature in any media. As soon as you end up in a movie or TV show, it's all over for you.
Well, here's the issue with that, Jim, is that you may think you're living off the grid away from the prying eyes of the television audience, but look at things like Twin Peaks and Erie, Indiana. Those shows are about places that nobody's ever heard of.
That's true. That being said, how many people were affected by the events of Twin Peaks in Twin Peaks?
I have no idea. If you lived there, they would affect you.
That's true. I have never watched Eureka, but I feel like Eureka was a town that bad things happened to pretty regularly.
Should we maybe consider moving to Europe?
Let's talk about all the bad things happening in European cities. I don't know.
Yeah. I watched Broadchurch. That was just one murder.
Yeah, but one murder each season, so 2 whole people die, I think.
Yeah.
There you go. What are the odds it's going to be you? I mean,
then
come
David
on.
Tennant shows up. You know, I just had a thought. If David Tennant shows up in your town, something bad is likely to happen. Because either he's the guy from Broadchurch, or he's the doctor, or he's a Shakespeare character. And none of this outcomes
is a literal
great.
devil.
Or he's a literal devil, yeah.
Or he's Kilgrave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, avoid
that's
David
also
Tennant
worse.
and Maine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
avoid David Tennant as much as you just stay far away from David Tennant.
Yeah.
Having said that, David Tennant, if you would like to be a guest on this show, you're welcome.
Yeah, I hear he's a very nice person.
He doesn't listen to this.
We don't know that.
Yeah, we better. Yeah. Also, there might be a pretty large Maine audience, so we should probably make some amends for
No, yeah.
to all these folks.
Tell you what, listeners, if you live in Maine and want to tell us that we're wrong, go ahead and write us an email and ask us some more vaguely scientific questions.
Yeah. And also tell us some of the great things we could do if we ever came to Maine.
And tell us the best things about David Tennant.
Yeah. I know a lot of them already, but I don't mind hearing them again.
Everybody knows a lot of them. He's amazing.
Yeah. This is really funny because my wife was just talking to a friend of ours who lives in Maine, and he was like, hey, it's a great place to come visit. If you're ever in the area, let me know. And now I'm like, but there's so many murders up there.
There's so many supernatural.
They're running out of bodies.
Yeah.
They're trying to summon you.
Yeah. 2% of the town of Cabot Cove dies.
2%. Oy, oy, oy.
I think before we run out of time, perhaps we should move on to our second question.
Sure.
For the week. And that you'll appreciate that segue in a moment here when I read the question.
I already appreciate it because I know the second question.
Yeah. Question 2 this week is, why and how does Mario die when the stage timer runs out? I have one major theory.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm basically open to hear whatever everyone else has to say.
Okay.
Let me just tell you this. In 1988, Super Mario Brothers was released, originally packaged in a 2-in-1 cartridge with another video game called Duck Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And that 2-in-1 cartridge on the Nintendo Entertainment System came with a light gun called a zapper.
Mm-hmm.
And those of you who are familiar with Duck Hunt will know that you do not play a character on the screen, but rather a third-dimensional being that wields a firearm and targets characters in the two-dimensional space on the screen. So my theory, and I have more to support this, my theory is that Mario is running to beat the clock because there is an off-screen sniper with the zapper that shoots him when the time runs out. And this is further supported by the fact that Mario can be killed by other non-diegetic things outside of the game, such as in video game levels that are auto-scrollers. Mario can be crushed by the edge of the video screen.
Oh, yeah,
Ooh.
good point.
Yeah, so I think that Mario is actually living in an existential cosmic horror of an existence.
But who hired the hitman with the sniper, and why is it timed?
So that is the
Bowser.
yeah. So that's kind of my answer. There is like look at the enemies. This is strictly in Super Mario Brothers, the first one, which is the first time the timer becomes a thing. Which is also the first time that Mario is trying to rescue the princess from Bowser. The enemies are mostly, but not exclusively, just people or creatures walking back and forth. Some of them are throwing hammers at Mario, but most of them are just Koopas walking back and forth. Those ones deserve it. But most of them, Mario's just running past them.
Yeah.
He's not actually fighting them. So you get this sense of urgency, like these are the enemies. But my theory is that they're not actually enemies. They're just there. The real enemy is off screen and has the metaphysical light gun zapper ability.
Mm-hmm.
That's my hypothesis.
I can get behind
QED,
that.
that's canon.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah. I think that's it. Tune in next time.
That's it. It all came back to Duck Hunt. We knew it would.
So one of the ones I was looking at, because I was trying to I know there's no canon reason why this is. So I found a bunch of fan speculation. And one of the things I thought was really neat, and this is not the answer that I'm about to give, is that all of the Marios are clones that have a certain lifespan before they dissolve into goo. And that is not my answer. My answer is similar, but slightly different in that all of the Marios are actually robotic machines that are being remotely controlled by, the actual Mario individual. And as they go, they only have a certain amount of battery in their storage pack. And the place that you go to recharge the battery is the end of the stage. And if you don't quite make it to the end of the stage, the battery dies, and thus Mario dies. This is also why Mario has many lives, because, of course, a human individual will not have multiple lives, but Mario somehow manages to accrue upwards of 99 of them.
Did you ever hear the joke? The Mario being clones reminded me of the idea that Super Mario Brothers actually has tons of alternate endings, and most of them are bad if you consider that every time Mario dies, that's technically an ending.
Mm-hmm.
I've written many endings to Mario.
You find a new one all the time.
Yeah.
Do you think Mario may be, in fact, a cat?
Oh. Can cats get extra lives?
Yeah, are cats' lives capped at 9, or can they make a deal with whatever?
I was under the impression they just started with 9.
They
What if
start
they
with
eat
9,
green
but
mushrooms?
could they? Yeah.
I think, Jim, you had more to say, and I interrupted you.
Oh, yeah. So the other one that I thought was kind of fun, and I feel like this is a little bit more in line with your initial theory, is that after a certain amount of time, the entire stage is just flooded with a deadly neurotoxin.
So it's all this eldritch horror monster and or hitman with a Nintendo light gun.
Wait, we need one of those Charlie Day corkboard
Oh,
things
yeah.
to figure out that the Mushroom Kingdom is in Maine.
We got boxes full of Maine.
Is that why Maine never gets mail in any of this literature?
Where does It's Always Sunny take place?
I think
Philadelphia.
canonically,
right.
it might be
That's the whole
Philadelphia.
title of the show. Holy cow! I have
I
not referred to it by its full title in like 7 years.
I believe there
Wow.
are hints.
It takes place in Newark, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
It's
To be fair, with that show in particular, it wouldn't shock me if it was called that and it took place in Newark.
The gang goes to Newark.
Oh,
they did go to
wow.
the Jersey Shore once.
I think it's so funny
there you go.
that for years I have not a single time referred to it by its full title. Sometimes I just call it Sunny.
It's Always Sunny in the Mushroom Kingdom, except for the fire levels, I guess.
Oh yeah, there's that Dark World in Mario 3.
Dark World.
This isn't about the timer, but it is about the screen crushing. There are levels where there is rising lava or like a poison water of some kind. And I'm thinking, what if those levels just the camera is slightly tilted, but in most of the levels there's always lava rising.
Yeah. Well, that could also be the boundary of the cloud of deadly neurotoxin.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Mhm.
You did mention
There's
that.
a lot of deadly neurotoxin in Mario.
I think it's psychosomatic. I think Mario. So I'm gonna tie this in with classic literature, but I think Mario sees the timer and he doesn't know what's going to happen at the end of the timer, so he assumes it means his death. And I was thinking of The Importance of Being Earnest, the Oscar Wilde play, and in The Importance of Being Earnest, one of the main characters, Algernon, invents a friend called Bunbury, who is kind of his like go-to excuse to either get out of things or do whatever. He's like, oh, I got plans with Bunbury or whatever, things like that. And it's a totally imaginary person. And then he decides later on in the play to just kill him off. And they're like, oh, what happened to your friend Bunbury? And he was like, oh, he died. And he talks about how he had been sick or whatever and went to the doctor. And he says, they're just asking because he's very glib, or like he's like, I don't know, he died. And everyone's shocked, and he's just trying to like explain it away. And he says, well, the doctors found out that Bunbury could not live, so Bunbury died. They say something like, oh, it seems he puts great faith in the medical profession or whatever, something like that. They're like, oh, good for him for listening to the doctor so well. I think it's like that. I think Mario sees the timer, and when the timer hits 0, Mario decides that he cannot live, and so Mario dies. But I think it's all in his head.
I was fascinated by that entire thing because I now think that a tagline for this show should be vaguely scientific, the show where we explain Mario dying by referencing the importance of being earnest.
Yeah.
If that doesn't encompass what we do here more than anything else, I don't know what does.
Although in a similar note, it's possible maybe he's not dying at all. He's just giving up. He's just like, look, I know I can do better. I know you can do better, person behind the screen. Let's go back to the start and give this another go, shall we?
It's just a disappointment timer.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a disappointment. Well, that gets for that we have to pay attention to the fact that when the time runs out, Mario does the same animation that he does when he is crushed by a thwomp or runs into a Goomba. And it's also important to note that most of the things that kill Mario, if he has a power-up, will only remove the power-up. But the timer is one of a few things that will kill him instantly.
Right.
It's just to show that time comes for us all.
Yeah.
The whole thing is a metaphor.
Yeah.
Oh, it's possible. Maybe it's not a metaphor. Maybe it's very literal that the universe that Mario lives in is extremely close to ending. And the timer represents the amount of time that's left until the world just explodes or something, or like the universe shuts off. And to reset that timer, you either have to, lower a flagpole, or you have to break the little tape at the end of the stages on Super Mario World, or things like that, whatever gimmick your game has. That's how you reset the timer to prevent the end of the universe.
Sorry, Mario, entropy is in another castle.
Yeah, I think it's just to say that the ultimate enemy is time. It's like Gollum's riddle. You remember Gollum's riddle?
Yeah.
I don't know Gollum's riddle.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I brought it up just in case I could recite it.
I don't know Lord of the Rings.
Ryan, were you a
The
literature
Hobbit.
major? Because that's what we do.
I was not. I very foolishly majored in film.
Okay. It's similar.
It's basically it's as
quality
feudal
of
as
idea.
literature. Literature majors spend all their time in Maine.
Oh no.
But anyway, so Jim, Gollum says, "This thing all things devours, birds, beasts, trees, flowers, gnaws iron, bites steel, grinds hard stones to meal, slays kings, ruins town, and beats high mountain down."
It's time.
And the answer is time,
Yes.
which Bilbo gets correct by mistake, because he's asking for more time.
Yeah.
And maybe Mario's trying to ask for more time. But
But what Mario should have asked was, "What have I got in my pocket?"
Mario needs, yes, lots of gold coins
Well, there you go.
and occasional mushrooms.
Yeah. Just as a side note, the idea of gnawing iron is a very unpleasant thought, and it went straight to my teeth.
Well, that's why the answer isn't Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's time.
I want to recut The Hobbit, and Bilbo's like, "Is it Jim?"
Is it Jim? And
Who's Jim?
And Gollum's like, "How'd you know?"
How did you know it was Jim, precious?
I thought I invented Jim. I didn't know you knew him.
I was a figment of his imagination.
Jim is just the common name for Morgoth, the evil god in Tolkien lore.
And Morgoth likes to gnaw on iron?
He eats nails for breakfast. That's where that
Apparently.
came from.
This is the canon we've established.
That's not just an old grandpappy saying for tough guys. They're referring to the elder god Morgoth.
You don't mess around with Jim.
You don't mess around with Jim. No, Jim's a tough guy.
Yeah.
He loses in the end of that song, though.
Oh, does he? I forgot.
Who would win in a fight, Jim or Leroy Brown?
Oh,
Leroy Brown.
definitely.
Yeah, but Leroy Brown loses that fight too.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone's going to lose a fight to me.
What if you're the Jim of song?
Maybe then.
So this is why Mario dies.
So yeah, that's how Mario dies.
Mario dies because Jim said so.
Yeah.
This is all because Jim's.
Oh, maybe Mario dies because we assume he should. This timer is not in his universe. It is a constraint that we have placed on him. And because of us imposing our will on Mario, because there are a lot of games where Mario doesn't have a timer at all. And so everything's
True.
fine. And when we see that timer, we instinctively are like, oh, he's going to die at the end of this timer. And then he does. And it's our fault.
Oh no.
It's a little known fact. I mean, that reminds me of, like, I don't know if either of you did this, but I remember when I was a little kid, there was definitely people would tell each other, if you keep your eyes closed and walk toward a wall, as long as you truly believe that wall isn't there, you'll be able to walk through it, because seeing it is what makes it real. And of course, all the kids would just walk into the wall, and that's the joke. But I feel like now we're telling kids, if you play Super Mario and you just believe that you can go past the time limit, you will.
Okay, but isn't that basically the plot of The Matrix?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
What is Neo but a Mario that exceeds the timer?
I mean, Mario is a computer simulation, just like Neo.
very upset right now.
Maybe Mario is the one.
Mario wakes up in a vat of goo with no mustache or hair of any kind. That would be the worst thing of all.
Somebody's gonna make that fan film. I don't know.
That may exist already, knowing the internet.
True. We get at least some royalties from that. Starring David Tennant.
Starring David Tennant.
He'd do it. He's game for silly things.
David Tennant, we have a pitch for you.
David
Actually,
Tennant.
if I'm being totally honest with you, I think that Daniel Radcliffe would do it for us.
Daniel Radcliffe would absolutely do that.
Yeah, we watched the Weird movie a couple weeks ago, and boy, is that movie silly.
That is an incredible
The Weird
movie.
Al thing.
Yeah.
The 100% true biopic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to know to what extent they had to clear a lot of that movie with Madonna before they made it.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I had thought of that, and
But that's neither here nor there. That's spoilers for the crowd. Go watch that movie. It's good.
go watch that movie. Brought to you by Vaguely Scientific.
If only.
Yeah.
Uh,
So Mario either dies because it's in his mind, it's in our mind, or because some cosmic horror shoots him with a gun.
yeah. Or the deadly neurotoxin.
Oh yeah, deadly neurotoxins, of course.
And we'll never be able to determine one way or the other. It's an eternal mystery.
Yeah. We can't just go ask Mario.
We can't, because he's in the Mushroom Kingdom, and as we've established, that's in Maine, and none of us want to go there.
Yeah.
He's in the Mushroom Kingdom, which is a matrix inside Maine, which is a matrix inside. He's like a turducken of matrices.
Hmm.
A turducken of matrices.
One of the things that actually makes this question a little bit challenging, more so than we've already made it. And to be clear, that was all us. We did that to ourselves.
Yeah.
Is that there are several different genres of Mario game. And so there aren't consistent rules as to what kills Mario and how.
Oh.
So in a lot of the RPG Mario games, if you fall into lava, you just sort of like scorch your butt and go flying through the air and land back on a safe platform. And again, in tons of the Mario games, especially modern Mario games, there aren't timers in them at all. So, it's tricky.
Let me ask you this, Jim. Would you consider a depleting gauge comparable to a timer? Because if Mario is underwater in some of the games, he has an oxygen gauge.
Mm-hmm.
And if that runs out, he dies via suffocation.
Yeah.
And
So that
one's
could be an
that one's
answer.
pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd call that a timer though, because it's just the amount of oxygen he has, and then he'll just die if he runs out of it.
But you have the amount of time for
True.
it to run out.
But
So-
that's also a timer that I have personally in my body.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's how you would die too. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that is in my top 5 ways that I don't want to die. I think
Same.
drowning.
Yeah. That's one of the more painful ways to die. I'd
Yeah.
like to avoid that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Mario is suffering when the timer runs out?
I mean, it seems pretty instant.
Seems instantaneous, so maybe that's the way to go.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, but he's usually running frantically to reach a flagpole, so I feel like there might be some panic involved.
But he also, that's his choice. If he just,
That's
what if
true.
he just sat on the top of the pyramid blocks and just looked at the sunset
Mhm.
and waited for the timer?
He's got to be at peace with it. That's
He's got to be at peace
problem.
with it. You know which character really looks like they're suffering? Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Pac-Man looks, I mean, it's brief, but it's not instant, and it looks
Yeah.
He
horrible.
withers.
He
It-
withers.
yeah.
He turns like almost inside out. He basically
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
And that
Implodes.
noise is so sad. It's like,
it's sorrow. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think that Mario is aware of the timer? Because, like, if he isn't, then, like, that might be good for him. It
That's
just
true.
happens. He doesn't
None
even
of-
think
what
about
if-
it.
What if there's a timer on all of us?
Mhm.
Right?
And we're not aware of it.
Oh, now we're going to talk about Death Note.
I was
which
thinking Death Note.
did not expect to come up.
I
'Cause there's
certainly do not want to know when the timer's running out for me.
No.
And I hope Mario doesn't know either.
It's just the time gauge above his head floating there constantly, and he can't see it, but Magic Koopa can.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, I guess Boo. Or no, what's the ghost's name?
There are boos.
Boo.
There's like the Big Boo,
Yeah,
King Boo.
King Boo. King Boo
Mhm.
can see it.
King Boo can see the death timer over Mario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't want to approach him. He's like, it's not time yet.
Ooh. What do you think? So does Mario will he just become a Boo? Do they all become Boos?
I don't know.
Who's the Grim Reaper in Mario World?
Yeah.
Who is the Grim Reaper in Mario? I don't
Waluigi.
Oh.
Gotta be Waluigi.
You know what? I see that. Yeah.
know. I want them to make that game. That's a
Where-
good direction.
Where
for them to go.
Waluigi is harvesting people's souls?
Waluigi is the harvester of the dead.
If they have Luigi's Mansion and
Right?
Waluigi's the opposite,
Ah,
so
yeah.
Luigi harvests the dead people. That means that Waluigi must be harvesting the living.
Mm.
I really want there to be like a really elaborately concocted, story heavy Waluigi game that is like comparable to Soul Reaver. Like that's what I want. Nintendo,
Oh,
get
man.
on it.
But he still goes, wah.
He's
Yeah.
he's still Waluigi, but like
That's
they just
all he
decided
can
to go
say.
all in on writing.
Yeah.
They just it like BioShock or like absolute
Yeah.
masterpiece of storytelling and world building.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. But Waluigi, it's not my time yet. Rah.
Everybody cheating.
Everybody die.
Everybody die. I'm gonna die. You're gonna die. Wow, this is getting dark.
Seasons don't fear Waluigi.
I just want to. I hope Dak listens to this episode.
Time and mortality come to all except Waluigi.
Except Waluigi. Waluigi is eternal.
I mean, there are worse things that could be eternal, to be fair.
What's like the most profound quote that he could say?
Waluigi is eternal.
Waluigi goes,
Dad, she should have died hereafter. There would have been time for such a world. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Wah.
Waluigi is great because there's no canon explanation for him.
When
No.
I do Macbeth, I'm gonna do it just like that. It's all gonna be costumed.
it has to just be Whackbeth instead of Whackbeth.
Whack, Beth. Waluigi's a treasure.
In your version, whenever you guys stage Whackbeth, I need to see Mario saying like the piranha plants have come to high mushroom kingdom.
I've found the answer here is Waluigi shall never be vanquished till Toadwood Forest come to Peach's castle.
That's the one. I want that on a t-shirt.
We can
I
make
don't-
that
oh,
happen.
I don't know if we can. Those are
Oh, that's
Nintendo
right, that's all
IPs.
copyrighted.
Nobody's copyrighted Whackbeth.
Mhm.
We can make Whackbeth. We'll have to change Peach's castle probably.
Yeah.
I'll look into it.
Look into it. Get our licensing guy on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's our licensing guy?
You.
You.
Oh. It's not happening. I'm sorry.
Is there money in the budget to buy Nintendo?
Is there money? Yeah,
Boy,
it's
it'd be lovely if we had a budget.
it's right in there in the imaginary bank account.
Yeah.
Let's just send Nintendo a timer and see what they do.
Oh, that's good.
It would be better than the Mario movie from the 90s.
Bite your tongue.
I just hear somebody in Nintendo's office is answering the phone, and you hear 7 days.
You know, Jim, the Mario movie from the 90s ties us in with the first question. What would be the worst town to live in?
That's true.
It would be in King Koopa's New York, where you could turn into a shrunken head dinosaur monster.
Yeah.
Koopa Kingdom or something.
Mm-hmm.
What about the live action TV show? Do you remember that?
I loved the cartoon Super Mario Brothers Super Show. I feel like
Yeah.
that's the closest interpretation to the video game in the
But
world.
that had a live element
It
too.
had a framing device. Yeah.
That I'm willing to consider canon just because it's so goofy.
So yeah.
Well, there it is.
And they didn't have timers, so they're still alive.
Well, did they have 30-minute timers for each episode?
Yeah, that's true. But they didn't
Okay.
die at the end of the episode.
Well,
No, they didn't. They sang
on
you a jolly
screen.
song. Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, they turn off the cameras to shield the kids from the reality
swing
of
your arms from side to side.
do the
Do
Mario.
the Mario.
I think we may have exhausted this topic.
We did, but we had a lot of fun getting there.
We had a lot of fun on the.
Maybe the real timer was the friends we made along the way and their imminent demise.
Yeah. Oh, imminent. Wow.
I mean, that was one of the theories: is the world is going to end, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think our timer is running low, if you know what I mean.
All right. Well, listeners, this week, let us know what contemporary city is most like the canonical Mushroom Kingdom. If you have thoughts on that or anything else that we talked about, you could email us at feedback@vaguelyscientific.com. If you're in Maine, you could comment on our blog. Tell us why we should visit. If you are David Tennant, you could like us on Facebook or follow us on Blue Sky at Vaguely Scientific. Hey, Jim, where do we get all these wacky questions?
We get them from you, the listeners. And if you have a question that needs to be answered in a vaguely scientific manner, please email us at questions@vaguelyscientific.com. If you want to get our episodes the minute that they're released, you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and all the other cool places that podcasts like to hang out. And subscribing and leaving feedback really helps us out, and so does telling your friends.
Tell all your friends.
Our vaguely musical intro was composed by Anthony Pizzelli, and don't forget to check out our merch store over at vaguelyscientific.threadless.com. There's nothing that violates any copyright law in there, but there are some great designs that you can get on a variety of merchandise.
Yeah. So check that out, and
don't violate copyright.
well, I don't care if you do it.
That's fair, yeah. We won't, but you can. I'm not your boss.
Yeah. So thank you to Ryan for being here.
Ryan.
For Vaguely Scientific, I am Derek.
I am Jim.
I guess I already did mine.
Yeah, that's fair. You did that. And now you know, and knowing is half the battle.
Toodaloo.
That was good. That was a good one. That was not the Voltron intro.
No. I mean, it was, but...
It was legally distinct.
It was legally distinct from the Voltron intro.
It said vaguely scientific.
None of this will be copyright infringement, don't worry.